The sun had barely begun to rise over Ridgewood, a small town nestled in the heart of the Midwest. The streets were quiet, save for the occasional jogger or dog walker enjoying the crisp morning air. Among them was Maya Reynolds, a poised and confident black woman in her mid-30s, wearing a simple gray hoodie and black joggers. She was on her usual morning run, her earbuds in, lost in thought as she maintained her steady pace. Maya wasn't just any ordinary woman. She was a CIA agent, trained in combat, espionage, and negotiation. For the past 10 years, she had worked on some of the most classified operations in the country. But today, she was just Maya, an off-duty agent enjoying a rare moment of peace before heading back to Washington, D.C. As she jogged past a convenience store, she noticed a patrol car parked nearby. The officer inside, Sergeant Kyle Mercer, a tall, broad-shouldered man in his early 40s with a permanent scowl, watched her with narrowed eyes. Mercer had been with the Ridgewood Police Department for nearly 2 decades, and his record was complicated. He had multiple complaints filed against him for racial profiling, but nothing had ever stuck. He was a man who saw himself as above the law, and he carried himself that way. Maya paid him no mind and kept running. A few blocks later, she noticed Mercer's patrol car creeping behind her. She sighed. She had seen this too many times before. Still, she kept her pace, not wanting to escalate the situation. But then, "Hey, you, stop right there!" Mercer barked through the car's loudspeaker. Maya slowed down, then stopped, turning to face the officer as he stepped out of his car, hand already on his holster. "Morning, officer. Is there a problem?" she asked calmly, her breathing steady from the jog. Mercer scoffed. "Yeah, there is. We got reports of a suspicious person running through the neighborhood." Maya raised an eyebrow. "Suspicious? I'm just jogging, like I do every morning." He folded his arms, eyes scanning her up and down. "Funny, I don't recognize you. You don't look like you belong around here." Maya clenched her jaw. She had encountered officers like Mercer before, men who thought a black person in a wealthy neighborhood had to be up to no good. She had spent years fighting against people like him in her work, uncovering corruption, exposing abuse of power, and now she was face to face with it once again. She exhaled, forcing herself to stay calm. "Officer, I don't need to explain my presence here. I haven't committed a crime." Mercer smirked. "That's not for you to decide." Before she could respond, he grabbed her wrist. Instinctively, Maya twisted out of his grip, stepping back into a defensive stance. Big mistake. Mercer immediately reached for his radio. "Suspect resisting arrest. I need backup." Maya knew where this was going. If backup arrived, the situation could escalate fast. She had to de-escalate this before things got out of control. "Officer Mercer, I suggest you take a moment to think this through," she said evenly. He sneered. "Oh yeah? And why's that?" Maya took a slow breath, then reached into her pocket and pulled out her identification. The golden CIA badge gleamed in the morning sunlight. Mercer's expression changed instantly. The arrogance drained from his face, replaced by confusion and uncertainty. His mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. "I'm Special Agent Maya Reynolds with the Central Intelligence Agency," she said, holding the badge up for him to see clearly. "And you just made a very big mistake." The silence stretched between them. Mercer's face turned pale. His mind raced as he realized what he had done. What? He stammered, taking a step back. "I advise you to call your captain," Maya continued, her voice steady, "and tell him you just unlawfully detained a federal agent." Mercer swallowed hard. He knew this was bad, really bad. His career, already hanging by a thread, could be over. A moment later, another patrol car pulled up. Officer Jessica Martinez, a young Latina officer who had only been on the force for 3 years, stepped out. She had heard Mercer's radio call and arrived expecting a dangerous confrontation. Instead, she found Mercer looking like he had seen a ghost. "What's going on here?" she asked, scanning the situation. Maya turned to her, holding out her badge. "I'm Special Agent Reynolds. Your colleague here just attempted to unlawfully detain me." Martinez's eyes widened. She looked at Mercer, who was still frozen in place. "Mercer, is this true?" she asked. I didn't know who she was," he blurted. "That's not an excuse," Maya said. "You racially profiled me, harassed me, and attempted to arrest me without cause." Martinez sighed. She had suspected Mercer was corrupt, but she never imagined it would be this blatant. "We need to take this to the captain," she said. "Now." Within an hour, Maya was sitting in the Ridgewood Police Department headquarters, across from Captain Daniel Harris. He had already reviewed the body cam footage and was fuming. "Sergeant Mercer," he said, his voice dangerously low, "you just detained a CIA agent. Do you have any idea what kind of storm you brought down on this department?" Mercer looked miserable. I didn't know." "That's the problem," Maya interjected. "You don't think. You assume. And people like me pay the price for it." Harris turned to Maya. "Agent Reynolds, on behalf of this department, I sincerely apologize. This will be handled appropriately." Maya nodded. "I expect it to be." Later that evening, news broke that Sergeant Kyle Mercer had been placed on immediate suspension pending an internal investigation. The footage of the encounter leaked online, sparking outrage. Within days, protests erupted, demanding justice and police reform in Ridgewood. Maya didn't stay for the fallout. She had seen this play out before. But this time, she was directly involved and she wasn't about to let it slide. She made sure that Mercer was not only fired, but that his record was fully reviewed for past misconduct. She worked with legal teams to bring civil rights charges against him, ensuring that he wouldn't simply get rehired in another district. And in the end, justice was served. For the first time in his career, Kyle Mercer faced real consequences. And as he packed up his desk, watching his career crumble around him, he realized too late, he had arrested the wrong woman. Agent Maya Reynolds walked away from Ridgewood, knowing she had once again fought the system and won, because in a world filled with people like Mercer, she had vowed to always stand her ground, and she always would.